Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today our topic is procedural oriented programming and object oriented programming. So what are these concepts? We'll understand about these two topics. Okay. So before starting up the sessions, I would like to request you please like, share and subscribe my channel for more informative videos regarding the computer science subjects. Okay. So this video is very much important to all of the students who are preparing for their semester exams as well as competitive exams. And mostly this topic is very much important for those students who have the technical rounds in multiple MNCs or any other IT companies. Fine. So mostly from these sections, question asked. So basically, what are the concept? POP, that is representing procedural oriented programming, and OOP, object oriented programming. Nowadays, it is very much popular that so many languages we have. We know about C, Java, Python, but the basic concept, the fundamental concept, the basic objectives behind the languages, we don't know. So mostly, the main objectives of these sessions is to make each and every student understand about the main architecture of object-oriented programming as well as procedural-oriented programming. See, we have one programming languages, another is concept. So any programming languages must follow such concept. Either the programming language can follow procedural oriented programming or object oriented programming. Basically, these two are concept, a kind of architectures, a kind of paradigm, a kind of framework, we can say, a type of methodology, a type of architectural, so we can follow within the program. How we can follow within the program? Using such languages. So multiple languages we have seen. We have information about the languages like C language, Java, Python, and so many languages. But what concept, which paradigm they follow, and why they follow such paradigm? What are the benefits of such paradigms? Which area these paradigms required? Paradigm means it's a kind of framework. Okay, so let's begin deep dive into the concept, that is procedure oriented programming. Now, in early 1960s or 1950s, when was the system invented, like when the computer was founded, and after that some such development happened. So the very first computer programming language, we know that Algol, COBOL, Fortran, Pascal, these were the languages which was found early as 1960s or before that. Okay, so that language was developed to run a system, to perform some limited task. Okay, like operating system, like compilers, or some limited task they can only perform. Okay, not like today's what we know, that many applications have developed in banking sector, in railways, in airlines, and so many things are there right now. That was not the same scenario at that moment. So that was the beginning of the IT, or that was the beginning of the development of programming languages or system. So basically, that the main objective was to develop such software which run the system. Okay, for such things we had this concept, procedural oriented programming. So basically, procedural oriented programming means functions, the program which is totally depend on the functions and made by the functions. Okay, within the programs you will see that multiple functions can be created, and each functions have some relationship within others. So if anything happened within these functions, that will affect some other functions. Means some dependencies are there within the function, within the module of the programs. So basically, procedural oriented programming made for the system software, to run the system, complex software. Okay, so not like the applications softwares or any other enterprise software. So that was not the objectives behind. It was very much popular at that times during 1960s, 70s, 80s, and so on. It was very much popular. Still it is popular, but in different perspective. Okay, so right now we only required such system, programming language which will fit in every dimension of the development or any kinds of technology. Okay, so we have big procedural oriented programming that is based on function. Okay, totally this concept is based on function, whereas you can see object oriented programming. This approach is totally different. Okay, once like we can see when was the design happened for the software such like complex software, system software, that was first designed using C. That was a Unix and Linux. It is a operating system. So C language is used in in development of Unix and Linux operating system. Okay, so that was the time of 1960s 70s onwards. But during 1995, we have this language object oriented programming concept, we have C++, as well as we have Java, Python. So many languages are there, but based on object oriented programming concept. Okay, so basically these are concept, not a language. Language we have different one, like as I have discussed, Algol, COBOL, Pascal, Basics. Okay, Fortran. These were the languages which follow procedural oriented programming, and here we have object oriented programming. So again, I am telling you, this is based on objects. This is a concept. Okay, so everything in the real world that will be treated as an object. Each and everything in the universe, we can treat it as a objects, and those objects should belongs to a particular class. Okay, it is for both living and non-living. So there is no such concept related to modules, related to method, that was not focused. Okay, the focused area was of objects. Okay, so especially that focused on objects. It is a kind of concept also, as well as a, we can say, paradigm or kind of framework which we need to follow. Okay, so in programming languages, so what are the different programming language we have? We have based on object oriented programming, we have C++, Java, JavaScript, Python, Kotlin, Ruby on Rail, PHP, VB.NET. So these are object oriented programming. Some are fully object oriented programming, some are partial. Okay, but not fully, but at least they follow the object oriented programming concept. But Java is fully object oriented programming concept, whereas in here we can see Python also. Python is object oriented programming concept, as well as it also follow POP, procedural oriented programming. We can do program using Python in both way. Either we can follow POP, or we can follow double OP, that means object oriented programming. So both concept we can follow. Okay, so it is only the way how you need to write up the code. Okay, how you will design the code for a particular system to for a particular program task or any kinds of applications. That is the only objectives how you are following. So basically in C we have focused mainly mostly on algorithms, how the program should follow the steps. Okay, and here the relationship building, how each and every object related with each others, and how the objects are encapsulated or inside the class. Okay, so everything whatever you are writing up, that is a means a part of code that should be within the class. Here is no such kind of concept. There is no such kind of concept of class, neither objects. Okay, so object oriented programming concept is highly secured by but slower, secured but slower. We can say it is highly secured. Second point, you can see less secured but faster. So for the security reason, that the POP based programming language is less secured. Whichever language is following POP, that means procedural oriented programming, that become weak. That is not as highly secured as like POP or double OP, object oriented programming concept based languages. Okay, so it is less secured. What are the languages we have which is less secured considered? Algol, COBOL, Pascal, C, Fortran, Basic. These were the languages which were treated as a less secured. Less secured means what? That time or right now we are using operating system, we are using system software, we are using compiler. So that doesn't require some high level security. Okay, there is no such things. They required faster communication. How? When you see the operating system is said to be as a backbone, or we can say there is a kernel programming. So kernel programming required C concept, a C programming language, which must follow POP. So that means some kinds of function should be there, which is communicating with each other inside the programs. Okay, the program which is written for kernel, the program which is written for operating system, such as the first operating system we had Unix, which is made up of C language, which followed POP, procedural oriented programming. Hope you have understood. So that's why it is less secured, but it is faster. Why we said faster? Because of the pointer, direct memory access. Okay, so we don't have any kinds of JVM. We don't have, whenever you are writing up code, that code directly converted into machine code which is executing. Okay, so there is no such kind of middle layer or any kinds of JVM environment or nothing like that. Okay, so but it is object oriented programming which is highly secured, because of the absence of pointer somehow, which is the fully object oriented programming. So there is an absence of pointer. Okay, so that's why the concept object oriented programming is highly secured but slower. But slower means what? Some other concept has been added here, where we can say pillars of OOPS. What are the pillars of OOPS? We had four important pillars of OOPS, object oriented programming. First one, the very first one, that is called encapsulation. Encapsulation means what? Like we are encapsulating data and functions. Okay, data and method inside the class, and we are also creating a method. Within the method, each and everything's are encapsulated. Okay, we must have some kind of modifier concept in here, in this concept. Okay, so that means data hiding, that means abstraction is another one, another pillars of OOPS, another principle of OOPS. First one we had discussed, that was encapsulation. Second one, that is abstraction, data abstraction. And the third one we have polymorphism, and the fourth one we have inheritance. So four basically important pillars, or you may say principle of object oriented programming. That principle is required when you do certain parts of coding in Java or Python or any other programming languages. But these language must follow object oriented programming. What is object oriented programming? It is a approach, it is a paradigm, okay, which follow the real world entities as a objects. Each and everything in the real world is treated as objects. When you do program, there is also required some framework, some design, some paradigm based on objects and classes. Okay, I'm giving you examples like class vehicle. In class vehicle, we can have multiple numbers of objects. Okay, so like objects like vehicles means we can have a car, we can have a train, we can have a bus, we can have a bicycle. So all these become objects of the same class vehicles. So each object must have its attributes and behavior. So attributes and behavior must be encapsulated within the objects. So for each object, two things must be there: attributes and behavior for each object. Fine. In the same order, we used to write up the codes. Okay, we are following the approach of object-oriented programming. So based on objects, nothing is left without objects. We must use to write down the class. Inside the class, multiple objects you can create using the real world entities. Okay, so real life examples we can have in here, but that was not same in procedural oriented programming. Those language which are following procedural oriented programming, that means those programming language must have numbers of functions, and those functions are related with each other. These are less secured because of global variables. So we have global variables. Any functions can modify the global variables, can use the global variables. If you made any mistakes in any of the functions, or you want to update, that will hamper, that will create some major effect in other part of the programs. That is the drawback of procedural oriented programming. that means POP, especially in C language, because of the concept of pointer. Direct memory access is there. So once you made any mistakes in the programs, in the any functions, then it will hamper the entire process. Okay, but that was not in object oriented programming concept based languages. Okay, like Java we have, like Python we have. So I have given one examples from both concepts. One is POP, that means procedural oriented programming, that follows C, and object oriented programming that follow Java. So I have written a sample code here so you can understand properly how both are different. So first of all, these POP based on method, that means all the things is inside the main method, or it will call the method. Okay, so basically the concept of method. Okay, it is based on totally method, that means functions. But here, object oriented programming based on objects. Here objects will be created, and all the lines of code, the entire programs must be written within the class. Within the class, that is mandatory. Okay, without class you won't be able to write down the code. Okay, because there is a relationship. Okay, so and we have multiple, that means four important principles that must follow the Java programmings or the object oriented programming concept languages, those languages which follow OOPS framework, OOPS paradigm, that must follow that four principles, that is encapsulation, polymorphism, abstractions, and inheritance. These four important features, or you may say principle, that must follow by the languages which is of object oriented programming. Fine, let's see the programming code. This is one of the example using C. Hash include stdio.h. We have written this one. This is the first for library we have to mention there for input output operation. When you print anything on the screen, when you take the user input or output, given the user output, that this line is required. Okay, when you are printing anything on the screen, that means stdio. You are giving the system, you are asking the system to give the grant for the input output operations. That is the meaning. So this is the mandatory line to write up. After that, you can see this is called the bottom approach. Bottom approach, bottom up, from bottom to up. So that is the not bottom, it is the top up. Sorry, this is the top up approach. This is the bottom up approach. The program always start to execute from the top to the bottom. So here you can see there's a function. Again, the first thing, defining a function in the program. It is totally based on functions. Okay, so you can see the function is written inside the program, int sum, int a, int b. This is the functions calculating the sum of two numbers, integer values. We have defined inside this parenthesis, that means the parameter. So parameterize the functions there. Sum is the function name of integer. Int, we can write void, we can write int. If you are writing void, that means it will not return the value, it will only print the statement, print the values, but not returning the values. Okay, so printing, if you want to print some statement, then you have to write void sum. But if you don't want to print any statement, that means you are only returning the values, calculative values, then you have to write int sum. That means we are defining a functions along with the integer variables, that means a and b. Here is return a plus b and closing. So this is the opening curly braces, this is closing. So that means this is the body of the function. This is the body of the function. This is the function name. These are the parameters. Now you can see int main from where the program start executions. So this is basically example of C based on POP, procedural oriented programming. Main is the function. Main itself are functions. So that means we are focusing on function, basically function inside the functions. Function calls happening inside the function. Each and every functions are dependent on each others. That is the way of writing code using POP. That is one of the C language. You can see int main, that means main method, program start execution from main. This is the top, we can consider this is the top. Okay, program when see main, then it will enter into the program and start executing. Okay, it is based on compiler. There is only compiler. Okay, compiler, no interpreters concept is there. in case of POP based languages. Okay, so int x equals to 10. I have initialized the value as 10 in x, new variable. Y equals to 20. Okay, now you can see printf. Inside main we can write printf sum equals to percentile. This is the way to print the message along with the functions. We are calling, this one is set to as calling the function sum xy. What was the value of x? X is 10, y is 20, and sum is the function name. This is the function name. When you write sum, that means it will redirect to these functions. So function call is happening within the function. That is the way of that is the that is the concept of POP, a way of writing code in C programming which follow POP. Okay, so function call happened this side. You can see within the printf. So sum xy, x value is 10, y value is 20. This function call will happen here, and this xy will be transferred to this parameter. Int a will be considered as x, int y as considered as y. Okay, int b considered as b. Whatever the value, that means passing, that means x value is 10, y value is 20. That 10 will be here, that 10 will be considered here, and 20 will be considered here. That will be passed, okay, to this function parameter. Once 10 and 20 pass, this one return a plus b. That means 10 plus 20. So that means 30 is the value. So here return 0. Once it executed, then freed up the space, the memory get freed. Okay, so that means what? Int a 10, int b 20, it will give 20. The message will be displayed 30 without displaying any message like the sum of the two numbers, whatever, blah blah blah. Okay, so here you can, if you are writing void sum, then that kind of message will be printed along with the output. But you are not printing any such messages, but you are only printing the returning the value. So that's why it will print only 30. So this is the way of writing code using C program, which is nothing but POP, procedural oriented programming. Fine. So here we have seen what inside method call happened. So means multiple method we can have inside the programs. So basically POP based on method, that means functions. Here in POP focused mainly on functions. Hope you have understood. Now moving to the another example which follow object oriented programming. Whenever you are writing the same code but using object oriented programming concept, so you must follow such kind of paradigms, such kind of architectures while doing programs. Okay, you can see I have taken one example from Java. Java is a programming language which is fully object oriented programming language, follow object oriented programming concept. Okay, so here object oriented programming, that means fully based on objects. So here object oriented is a paradigm which follow the real world entities as objects and which belongs to a specific class. Okay, and each object must have its attributes and behavior. Fine. Now you can see example, I'm doing the same things in Java. So we have to define starting with class. Before it, this is the mandatory things you can write down. Import java.util.asterisk semicolon. This is the mandatory package. You are accessing multiple function within this package, util package. Okay, various kind of function you are able to use for input output operations for this package. Okay, multiple functions you are able to access from this package. Import java.util. When you start programming in C, you used to write include stdio.h. When you start programming writing in Java, import java.util.asterisk. This is mandatory, okay, for using the multiple functions of the package util. Now class CLC. Now we have written class name. So whatever the body of the code, whatever the program you are writing, that the entire program within the class. It should be within the class. We can have multiple class also. We can have one class also, but we must have to consider entire program within the class. Like we have seen within the main method, we have entire programs, the functions called within the main method. Okay, so that means what? We have the concept of class. From class you can see this is the class name, CLC. Class name always is starting with capital letter, calculator. CLC means calculator. We are calculating. Okay, so this is the opening parenthesis, curly brace, from where the body of the class is starting. End sum, this is one of the method which return the value. End sum, we can use also void which does not return the value, but it will calculate and print the statement. Okay, int a, int b, two values we have, two variables of integer type we have defined here, int a, int b. But initialization is happened using objects. That is the beauty of the program. You can see return ab. So return ab means a plus b, whatever the values will be passed here, that will be calculate and gives you the sum, return ab. This is the closing parenthesis. Try to understand, this is the body of the method. This is the method name, end sum. This is the body of the method. Whatever the program you are writing inside this, that called body of the method. Okay, so now this is the opening, this is the closing, but still we have opening curly braces for class, but still we don't have the closing of this class, because inside the class we are writing up the code. Public static void main, this is the mandatory main functions for Java. Inside Java we have this one, but with the help of objects we will do the entire task. Okay, so here opening curly braces for this main function. See, this is the way to create an object for the class. So this is the mandatory line you need to memorize. You can note down in your any notebook for your memorizations. Okay, so whatever you want to note down. Here this is the opening curly braces for main. Okay, so C class name obj1, that means you are creating first object, object1, equals to new. New is the keyword which is used to create an object. C, that means the class name, opening curly parenthesis. This is the way to create objects. Whenever you want to create objects, then you need to follow this one, creating objects. Creating objects. Whenever you want to create objects, then you need to follow class name space object name. Object name can be anything, but the class name should be same as class name you have mentioned here. Equals to new. New is the keyword which is used to create the objects. New is the mandatory keyword you need to write. After space, then again the class name, opening closing parenthesis. Done. One object created. In the same order, you can create multiple objects. CLC again, the class name obj2, second object, equals to new C, opening closing parenthesis. That is same. That means second object can be created. Means we have two objects, object 1, object 2 has been created. Done. Once the object created, with the help of object you can call out the method, but that was not same in case of C. Okay, so here object has been created. So int result, this is another variable which will have the calculative value. Int result, integer type of value, equals to obj1 that was created. This is the object, nothing, this is object. With the help of object, dot, with the help of object you are calling the function. You are calling the function sum. Sum was the function mentioned here after class. This function will be called with the help of object. That object you have created here. Object dot obj1 dot sum 15, 20. Two value you are passing with the help of object. Object obj1 dot sum 15, 20. That means 15 and 20 value will be passed to this one. Sum, it will be called, this method will be called along with the values 15 and 20. 15 and 20 will be passed to A and B. It will be calculate 15 plus 20. Done. So after that, the way of printing statement as we see in C language which follow POP, printf sum percentile D sum, this is the way to print. But this is the way to print using Java, which is object oriented programming. System.out.println, that means some concatenation. This is the concatenation operator. Okay, so result means the value, calculative value. Once you call this one, this method perform the task a plus b along with the values 15 plus 20, then it will return what here in the result. The sum value will get stored in the result. Then result will have what? The result will have the calculative value 35. Then the 35 will be printed. Now you can see this is the opening opening curly braces for main, public static void main. This is the closing one. This close, this pair of close. Within this we have created the objects and printed the final result. Now this curly braces is the pair of this class. From here to here you can see the entire program has been encapsulated. Binding. Okay, there is no such kind of any problems while modifying the code, while updating the code. This is the way of writing code in Java and writing code in C. C following POP, Java following object-oriented programming concept. As you have seen, creating class. After creating class, the entire program within the class we have that follow the bottom-up approach. Whenever it's C main, first it's C main, then it will start executing the program, and there's a class. Class should be mandatory. Fine. So you have understood this is example which we have discussed. Now moving to the main points regarding the POP as well as object oriented programming, that is OOP. Fine. So basically right now we have multiple types of programming language, as you have seen. Algol, COBOL, Pascal, C, Fortran. These were the early implementation of the programming language. Those programming language is less secure but faster. But here we have this programming language for complex software such as system software, driver program, system software, driver program, compiler design. Okay, so these are the implementation we can have in C. Okay, with the help of C programming language, with the help of POP approach, you can develop complex software. Okay, hardware programs, okay, for processor, for memory management, for motherboard, for various kinds of such systems, you can develop the software or develop the programs, okay, using C or POP approach. Right now, without system software, we are unable to do the several tasks, but security is less. We cannot have such application or enterprise level software, that is called the application software. Okay, so here we have some web applications, web apps, mobile app. We have enterprise software, ERP, enterprise resource program. We have enterprise application software. We have multiple gaming applications. Okay, so many things can be developed where the security concerned. So in where which are the areas? We have banking, software, we have any kinds of trading applications. We have trading applications. So many things are there. Okay, so I'm giving you some example. In hardware programming basis or the system software, we have seen first system software was developed, that is Unix, using C. Linux was the also development of C language that followed POP, as well as we had the concept of multiple DB database software, which was nothing but MySQL, Oracle. Okay, so these are the unique features of system software and compilers. So these are the examples of such complex software which is made up of POP approach, POP paradigms. Okay, using C language. These are all implementation of C programming. Okay, so here we have banking software, trading applications, gaming, web application, mobile application, ERP, enterprises, business software. Okay, any business software. Okay, so very popular, we have Android. Android is made up of Java programming language, which is of object oriented programming approach. We have Instagram that uses Python. Instagram uses Python. We have YouTube also, that uses Python. So Python programming is also object oriented programming language. So many development happened. So if you want to develop such software which required some security as well as faster in access, so we can have object oriented programming concepts. Right now it is very much popular among the business, among the various kinds of development. Also we have AI, machine learning, data science. These are various softwares which can use Python software. Python programming language is essential. So these application program related to related softwares cannot be able to made with POP approach programming language such as C or any other language. So this become very difficult. Okay, there is no concept of pointer. As we have seen the direct access memory, direct memory access in the case of C language, in case of POP approach. So that was absent. That was not present in object-oriented programming. So that's why it makes the approach highly secured and faster somehow, but not exactly as faster like POP. Okay. So what we have understood, the difference between how they are different between each other, POP as well as double OP. But to exist in the market, the development of the software must require such approach, okay, which must be highly secured, which must be faster in access. Okay, like we have developed banking software. So banking software must require what? A kind of highly security, okay, secured software. The software must be secured. Okay, that software, if the software is little having little delay or somehow a little faster as compared to C, that is acceptable. But the software which gives you security, then that software is very much helpful for the organization and very much productive for the organization, for the business or any other problem solving projects. Okay, so that's why we can say highly secured. But there is also one thing, if you are using Java is also object oriented programming concept based programming language. You can use Python also. Python follow both object oriented as well as POP. When the Python is less secured than Java, but Java is more secured. But Python is less slower also, it's slower than the Java, but Python is easier language, simply a simpler language. Okay, you can develop the application more and more faster than any other programming language. You can develop the software easily within a shortest period of time. You can develop your projects within using Python. Nowadays we have the popularity of Python and Java because of so many applications there are right now. We have in every segments of real life scenarios, either it is in business or any research, whatever, we have such concept of object oriented programming language, and the application which is made, that is based on object oriented programming. Hope you have understood the entire concept, how they are different. Okay, what are the specialty and what are the drawbacks. Okay, so we cannot develop system software such like operating system which can manage the different types of tasks, which can perform the operations, which can monitor the processor, which can write up the code for kernel. That is a very complicated task to write up the code. So it is a low level language. Basically whatever the languages follow POP, that means very low level. Low level means what? It is closer to the machine. Those languages which is called low level, that means that language is closer to the machine. Machine clearly understand those language, those approach is called POP. Okay, so languages which follow POP, that means C, which is low level, which is closer to machine, closer to hardware. Hardware easily understand those language, but not machine. And one more point, that means compiler direct. When you write up the code, that means execution happened, so directly it converted to machine code. There is no bytecode concept or any kinds of JVM or any kinds of other JRE concept in case of POP. Fine, but object oriented programming concept, it is based on high level. High level means what? The programming language which you are using, that must be of high level. That means closer to human being. Closer to human being, human can easily understand those concepts. Okay, those languages, writing, the way of writing code is easier to human being. Human can easily write up the code, execute it, but machine can not understand. That is not like the thing, but the human can easily understand. Okay, once the human write up the code using Java, Python or any other, so means, if let assume you are writing the code using Java, that means first it will convert it into bytecode, and that bytecode will be used by JVM, not by the machine itself, because it is JVM which make the Java portable, which make the Java platform independent. It does not require any platform. As we have seen in C, there is a concept of memory, direct memory access, which makes the application less secured. But there is no such concept of direct memory access, no concept of pointers in case of Java, which follow object-oriented programming concepts. Fine. Hope all of you have understood. If you want to learn more about in depth about object-oriented programming, which follow four major principles, that is encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, and data abstractions. So please watch this video first carefully till the end, and I will be uploading the next video related to object-oriented programming. Deep dive into the concept first and uh, try to watch my coming videos based on the object-oriented programming. Hope all of you have understood. If you have not liked and subscribed my channel, it's a request to all of you, please hit the like button, like, share and subscribe the channel for more informative video regarding the programming languages as well as core concept of computer science or any specific subjects such as computer network, operating system, DBMS and various. So this session is very much important to all of the students who are preparing for technical interviews, who are preparing for semester exams and many more. Fine. Hope you like the videos. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching my video. Bye bye.